Hello, good morning, LinkedIn. Nice to see you. If you're here listening, excited to kick off our first Community Unplugged conversations. This has been on my mind for a little while. So if you're here in the comments, you may already know me. If you're watching, hi, nice to see you, Tasha. And I just love everything and anything community. So I thought it would be cool to start bringing together some people that I go to for community conversations, people I admire who are building community. And so a little bit more backstory, I guess, just to kick this off. You may be a member already. The Nonprofit Hive is a community I started almost 2 years ago now that supports nonprofit professionals. And it's evolved into a business around a product we built for ourselves called Community Hives that we're now putting out to the rest of the world. So if you're joining us, throw your name in the comments, say hi, where you're from. If you're a community builder, tell us a little bit about the community you're building. But I'm joined today by Jesse Rodgers of Builders Club. And what's cool is I'm a part of Jesse's community. So this has seemed like a great way to kick it off and very all around. But Jesse's somebody that I've gone to here locally to build community with. My own community is very online. So I'm super excited to have you. Thanks for doing this with me and kicking it off.
Well,
Tell us a little bit. Tell us about
thanks.
Builders Club. I want to hear what in your words.
Yeah, well, thanks for having me on the kickoff because there's no pressure at all, and I guess we
No
can't.
pressure.
No, not at all. I mean, I don't know. I mean, Builders Club's a place for ambitious people, which you are one of those ambitious people. And I think I like in real life communities. I think they're really awesome, and thought it was made sense to start a new one. In a place that I call home. And I think there's so many amazing people around. It's just hard to get them to connect.
Absolutely. And so just give, we're going to jump into this a little bit, but Builders Club is doing all the things locally. Like we just came out of Waterloo Tech Week. You were heavily involved. People are using the space. When you give your 1 minute pitch of Builders Club to a potential member, do you have that? What would you say? I know kind of what I say, but
I know, and everyone kind of has their own. A lot of the members have their own kind of view of it, and I want to make space for that because I think it can be that, right? So I think the thing about Builders Club, and I thought was really important, was making a community that the members can make their own. And so the only rule we have is the whole "don't be an asshole" rule, and which covers a lot of things.
Yep.
And so and everyone's been adhering to that. We haven't actually had any issues with that in a year now. And I mean, we've got a co-working type environment mixed with an event space that you can use. That is really just a big kitchen. And I think people use it for that, right? Like you got the civic tech group's been here, the most regular group that's here all the time. We do Dev House. Those can be big events. Like there can be up over 100 people at those in our area. But it also works for small events, right? Like small groups get together in the kitchen, in the smaller part of the kitchen, or they get together in a meeting room. And the whole purpose, right? Like you can do that yourself, right? Like you have a group you want to get together and make a community group of your own, do that here. And so being an environment where people can be in a community of people that think that want to have their own folks engaged and want to be that type of thing and be welcoming to that, I think is super important to me. And that's what I think that's part of being ambitious, because you need to find customers or you need to find other people that think your way. Because most of the stuff people are working on, they tend to be working on their own, or they're working remotely for another company and they're not around other people. So it's an environment for that, I think, is a huge net benefit to the community, but it's to the people involved. Because again, if you want to build a startup, if you want to build that's great. That's not required here. But if you are building a startup, being around all really smart people that have different levels of what they want to achieve or different things they're looking at helps it feel normal. Because building something is the most abnormal thing you could do, especially in Canada, right? But I think anywhere, building is really abnormal. It's like you're just taking this massive risk. You're betting on yourself. You're not getting paid. You're not doing that type of thing. And builders is, I mean, sometimes they exist inside of other companies, right? Like build products, they do that type of thing, because they need to do that. That's okay too, and that's part of the ecosystem. And I think it's a super important thing for people to get to know as well. Because when your thing doesn't work out, you want to work with other really interesting people. You need to know where they are, and you want to be
100%.
around that. So I think it's a holistic thing where it's like you don't have to be anything specific. But I think the important, and that's why I think ambition is a great thing to kind of set, because I think ambition can come in many forms. And I think you get some really interesting people that self-identify saying, yeah, I'm pretty ambitious. I want to try a thing, which makes the environment great.
That's not everyone. I would have said that absolutely was not me or how I would identify myself for the majority of my career. So for me, it was like, oh my goodness, I have to find other people who are doing this. And yeah, it's been an incredible location. I love what you're building. And I want to give people the backstory. I kind of know some of it. I actually don't know if I know enough of it, because when I was researching, doing this little chat, so many things about Jesse Rodgers in the Canadian entrepreneurship space came up. So, give us like that quick overview. Like, how did you kind of move into community building?
When I think about the original kind of, it was the old, and this is old. Like this is definitely before gray hair and kids. There was a thing called bar camps that was really big in tech in the early 2000s. Like the post everything collapsed, and people started working on stuff again. And how do you find people? And the bar camp movement was this unconference thing, like saying, okay, we've had enough. Like we don't want to pay thousands of dollars to go to these big conferences where we get no value. The audience becomes the value, right? They participate. So they had a format. We did this thing. So we would do bar camps in Waterloo. Like I worked at the university. It was like super easy to get a room. Nothing was locked back then. So we could just use a room and get people together and do stuff. That became startup camps. And because startup camps kind of came out of everyone in this room is working on a company. This is weird. We should maybe just talk about that. Like we would, like the original bar camps, we talk about things like curing ham and like all kinds of weird and wonderful things. But it just turned to, we're all working on companies. Like we should talk about that. And so we formalized kind of a different process that kind of mixed a hybrid of the demo camp movement in Toronto and what we like in Waterloo, which is just like, show me your thing. But that was my first kind of thing of the value of ecosystem, because over time, right, like you see, I mean, Ali Asaria with his like, I just bought this domain, well.ca. And like, we're just going online. I want to talk about it. And you see the evolution of that becoming this huge thing. And I think that is what kind of just was, oh, this works, right? Like, oh, these connections work. People, like they kind of get together and they look kind of messy and they don't know where they fit. And then they grow over time. And that's just, they grow together as a community, and they kind of share information, and because everybody knows something more than you do, like everyone.
Yeah.
And so the only way to get that out is like casual conversations that happen. So I mean, I got that exposure super early, and that became okay. Well, like an opportunity to build velocity, kind of, and the whole idea of this living and learning residence that was focused on making things, which I mean, that's a little bit of like the real thing was make mobile apps, but we turned it into just making things and brought the community into that residence to inspire those people, to show them that it was possible to do that here. And again, community, and every bit it's like bring the community in to connect, and stuff happens. And it doesn't have to be overly prescriptive, and I really, really like that. And so again, all through my career, it's like build velocity, creative instruction lab, had a company that was in the HR space, which we didn't use community as much, but it was still kind of familiar, and just kept going with that type of thing. So I mean, I feel really lucky to be able to do my own independent of all the other things that can challenge community now, which have nothing to do with the community itself, right? That's just all the forces outside of it. And but I'm kind of leveraging all of the stuff kind of learned and put it into this thing, which is
Yeah.
a lot of fun.
I love it. And I think you highlighted something that is absolutely true for me, but I do see at large, just especially as an entrepreneur now, especially as I've been growing with intention, my network, so many people who are succeeding in business and entrepreneurship, in any of those ways, like it is a lot they have a huge community usually behind them, whether it's kind of like an ad hoc community or they've gotten into spaces. And so when people watch from the sidelines while they're solo building, not talking to anybody, locked in their office at home, which was me for a period of time, you then realize you're going, oh my goodness, well, but that's not the way, right? Like when you see somebody and it appears to be this crazy overnight success. Very rarely have I ever talked to anybody who was like, oh yeah, I just stayed head down for like 8 months and didn't talk to anybody. Like
Yeah.
that's not the case, right? At all.
Well, it's lonely. Like I think it's really hard. I mean, I know, and I mean, if you've ever taken the risk to do anything, right, like a hobby or anything like that, unless you're unless somebody else is, you don't know what's normal,
Yeah.
and you're really focused on doing this type of thing. And I think in order to be successful, you've got to push yourself in a healthy way, and the best way to do that is with peers that are also working on whatever they're working on, and but have somebody to go grab a lunch with when you're worried about something, and then have somebody to go like share a win with. I mean, I think the people that understand that tend to be the people that are really in it themselves, like they're doing it themselves. And I mean, I think some of the tough part is like most of the stuff, like the default is this isn't going to work, right? Like most companies fail, like pretty much all of them. So um, normalizing that, where it's like, oh yeah, if your company doesn't work, well, guess what? You're normal. Like
Yeah. It's
the
important.
worst thing, the worst
Yeah.
thing is you're normal, but you took the risk and you took the chance. And the only way it's going to ever work out is by doing that. And
Yeah.
so like nothing will happen if you do nothing, right? So it's like you need to be around a team for that to happen. And I think that's the value of community when it comes to entrepreneurship, whether it's like consulting company or scalable company. It's really being around, being able to connect with other people that understand what you're going through and understand like that whole process.
Absolutely. I always like to ask people this. You might have, what's a moment in community work and for yourself? This is like whether it's these, very ad hoc groups that you started creating a long time ago or where you're currently at now, what's one of those moments in community work that you can be like, yeah, I'm proud of that. I helped participate in that.
Oh gosh, I mean, there's tons of moments, but they're not my moments. They're other people doing things. Like I'm just proud to be around that, right?
Yeah.
Um, one of the like the weirdest one, and it was in the middle of a hailstorm of like all kinds of things going on, was when Ted Livingston, he was 24 years old at the time, calls me up and says, "I have $1 million. What do you want to do?" And I'm like, "What?" And oh, and you have 3 weeks to do this. Like, sort this out. And he wanted to donate $1 million to do something, right? I think initially, like in hindsight, like we wanted to do something that we didn't get to do, but we had 3 weeks to kind of get something figured out that made sense, to make that money useful. And he donated to the University of Waterloo, and that turned into grants for students, and that just set a fire under the ecosystem. Like it went nuts because the opportunity that became like, oh, there's some money there for me to do a thing that doesn't, and it doesn't have to be overly developed. But I was so proud of just being able to be the person that Ted thought he could call, right? Like I must be doing something right if he feels that he can call me up and say, I want to do this thing. Let's do it now. It's just the trust and all those things to do that.
Yeah.
Um, and, but, and to navigate the university to do something in 3 weeks. Um, the funniest part of the whole thing was Ted actually handed me a check for $1 million US, a bank draft, and I put it on the desk of the development, like the head of development for the university, which they were expecting like maybe $100,000, like in installments over time. And I was like, no, here's a check. And it was like, what? Everyone was like, this doesn't make sense. And
Yeah.
like,
It's a world changing amount of money for like for projects at a university. Like that's pretty significant for sure. I love it.
it's a lot of money, but it was all in the spirit of everything that we were talking about, right? It's like people make decisions quickly. They made it for the right reasons, right? Like it was all of the things. He's super young, right? And it was just what a risk and what an impact. The first moment he had to give back, he did. Like it was just an awesome moment, and I think it had a so much follow on for the ecosystem, like for all kinds of people, that I'm just super proud to have been there for that. And it was a long time, like a long time ago now, but you can see the impact of that over
That's awesome.
time.
Toughest challenge you see communities facing right now? What is making community building hard in the current world?
Depending on your perspective, right? Like I think in the nonprofit realm, everything's hard.
Yeah.
Um, and who's going to fund things is getting harder by the minute. Um, and I think how this stuff gets paid for, or how, I mean, how this stuff gets paid for is a huge thing in this whole space right now, because it it is like we had a little brief moment post COVID where no one was sponsoring anything. So events felt very pure and awesome and cool. And now you can see really quickly sponsors wanting to get on stage and look at what I'm doing and inject themselves into these communities, which is a poison pill. And so it's like, because what's happened, like somebody who doesn't even make any sense is up on the stage talking about a thing, and it's like, I don't even understand why you want to be up there,
Yeah.
because no one's interested in what you're talking about. They're very appreciative of your sponsorship, but it's like there's this warping of being able to access, partly because we know marketing and sales is all kind of broken, because it's all relationship driven now, and the communities tend to be able to be the only thing that's driving certain things. So
Yeah.
it's just everything's kind of mixed up and weird, and it's like there's all these paths that lead to like not good things in the community building space, where it's hard not to avoid them and build actual value for people in the community. Because very quickly, right, like a sponsor is super important, but they can also, like, you can have a mismatch on who the sponsor is and what that community is, and it hurts everybody, right?
Yeah.
And I think that's one of the hardest things to anybody building communities. Like it's just super hard, and it's hard to be and sustain that for
Value
any
aligned
period of time.
sponsorship is wild, right? Like I find it to be really challenging. I mean, the Nonprofit Hive sponsorship is huge for us. And so some of it ends up coming down to me inviting specific people to be like, you're like, no, this is great. You are a great
Yeah,
match for what we're building. And very, stuck to my guns on this because I think you really have to have a community. Your community needs to have values in and of itself that you continue to respect, come back to, like, and yes, they can change over time what the values are because your community is going to change over
yeah,
time, probably. But for us, we don't sell lists. It's like, we'd love for you to be the sponsor, not selling a list, right? Like, where you
yeah,
can't
yeah,
have everyone's email address. That's not a thing. And absolutely, we've been turned down because we're not willing to do that. But it also means that, like, I'm showing back to the community that no, I value your data, your privacy. We're going to get this, you're going to have this opportunity, but that's really hard because a lot of groups, they want to build out their marketing lists, not realizing that they have to earn that, right? Like, you back to your trust story, you have to earn trust. Like, that doesn't just happen.
yeah. And I think that's a real risk, right? Like I think
Yeah.
because the temptation to go, yeah, you can just have my list. It's like, oh,
Right. Huge
that's
temptation.
it'll hurt. So,
Exactly.
and over time, it starts to degrade trust within your own community for what you're doing, and it's hard.
It's so hard to get back, right? Afterwards, if you've lost the trust, it's really like that, the amount of work that goes into it afterwards. And I think this kind of leads perfectly into what are the big opportunities, right, that come out of community and like that connection and belonging piece.
Yeah, I mean, philosophically, this is a big one for me, because I actually, I if you, I've always had this thing. If you look historically, where did the Rotary Club come from?
Yeah.
And it was entrepreneurs in Chicago from all kinds of different backgrounds wanted to connect, um, and and I think it just started with they want to connect. I think it's a story that Rotary puts on their website too. But um, it turned into how can they help, right? So eventually they went, polio was a big thing, and they went to cure. They used that community that they built around Rotary Club to do that. But I view a lot of this pushback, and or not pushback, but the reentry of communities as being so effective as people searching for belonging and searching for this group of people. And we forget, because definitely, like, I mean, even after the 80s, the 70s, even these organizations lost, they didn't, I don't think they renewed their membership in the same way. and people kind of diverted away from those type of things. So they never joined, didn't get exposure to it. And then they just kind of vanished, right? And I think we missed that. We missed these service clubs that help the community. But I think again, they got probably too far away from, they became like jobs.
Yeah.
Like they were trying to do too much as a service club. Like they had a building, they ran events, they did whatever, right? Like they would have host weddings, right? It's like, how does that have anything to do with a service club? And the
Yeah.
complexity just made it hard for anyone to join. But I think we're in this new cycle, which maybe runs over generations, although today everything seems to run in weekly cycles. But it's like, why don't, like, people want to connect with a like-minded group of people and do some good and connect, but it's that need to belong for connection. And I think right now it is this, everyone's searching for what was effectively service clubs in the past. Um, and these groups that are aligned with your kind of your ethos or what you want to do in the world, and connect just with other people. Like it's in a meaningful way, right? Like they don't want to just do the transactional stuff of conferences.
Well, I think that's almost like the 80s came into very transactional marketing, right? Like transactional, like before you weren't able to reach the whole world with your marketing, right? Like there was a very like clear movement, the 80s, 90s, 2000s, everything very much changed. And I think that, everyone's kind of realizing that transactional, I mean, here in the nonprofit world, so much move to transactional relationships
Yeah.
only. And the nonprofits that are legacy nonprofits that have been around forever are actually the ones struggling to figure out their new model because they stopped community building. They stopped those initiatives.
Yep.
And now they're realizing that Nike's running circles around them because Nike's actually moving back to community years ago and that kind of focus and word of mouth marketing is part of like major labels use word of mouth and micro influencer marketing just as much as they use the old transactional like celebrity marketing is changing drastically, right?
Yeah. Well, and I think I mean, again, it's like like the world changes a lot. And I mean, I've been around nonprofits myself, and you can, like, the crazy thing is they would have to run a gala event for something, right? And it's like to raise money, but it's like, say they would spend like 75 cents for each dollar they take in, because a gala event's so expensive to operate. And maybe when they started it, it was 25 cents or 10 cents even. And just the expenses and the expectations increase, the cost to operate and do the thing increases. Like even if you take those hospital lotteries and everything else, right? It's like the cost to operate that lottery is likely like gone up a huge amount since when they
Yeah.
started it. Like if you did, we used to do them. I was in Rotary Club locally, and we would do the Dream Home lottery, and there was a margin on that was great. And then over time, the Dream Home got so expensive, it was like you couldn't sell enough tickets
Yeah.
to have the return to keep doing it, and it was harder and harder to find a home to use because the builders were just, it was hard for the builders to participate. So I mean, those costs keep, like, the models change, but in the last like 10, 15 years, the cost to operate some of the things that may have worked in a different economic climate just don't work anymore. And so what do you do as a nonprofit if that's all you know what to do? And people expect you to do it.
Yeah.
Like, how do you even, that's a complete change in what you do to get attention, to do your type of thing, to share your story. Um,
I think
it's
of note, I would say one of my favorite things about Builders Club for anybody who listens to this afterwards is like the ad hoc, like, hey, we're going to have a breakfast on Friday.
yeah,
Like that's the thing that everyone raves about afterwards, where it's like Jesse's making pancakes. People bring fruit. There's like donuts, all these things that we probably shouldn't be eating as people,
oh no.
in our midlife capacity, like have the
Oh, the potato
bacon,
pancakes the last time
potato
are
pancakes.
definitely
Um,
worth eating.
yeah, like it's just those are the things like that I can handle. I get invited to cool events in Toronto, Galas stuff. I'm like, how would I even possibly make this work? It sounds cool. I even can afford it. Can I afford like the time to go and do that? Can I work that into my day? There's all those different factors I think that come in. And am I going to feel like I belong there? And I think that's a real question too that everyone has to be asking when they're building community and connection is does this make you feel more like you belong at the end of the day? Because those are the activities you should be cultivating. Um, Again, I think the landscape shifted pretty significantly.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, the easiest thing about pancake breakfast is pancakes are super easy to make
Yeah.
and very low cost. the maple syrup costs more than everything else. So it's like, but it's from the local
No,
Mennonite
supporting
farmers.
local.
So
Makes sense.
it's so good.
I want to finish this off, and then I want you to say how people can get in touch with you afterwards too. But if someone's listening, they're wanting to build like belonging in their community, what would be like that one piece of advice in your last year of really deep diving into Builders Club that you'd go, oh man, this is the thing that I would advise you do?
That's a big question. I mean, you have to trust people. I mean, you have to trust your members. You have to trust the people that are engaging. Take the feedback, right? Like take the things that people say, hey, have you thought about this or have you done this? I mean, you just using LinkedIn more and more effectively is because you have said maybe you should do that. But I think it's that input makes everything better. And I think
Yeah.
and having your community feel like they have a part in the success and the growth, um, it it should feel like it comes naturally. Like I think that is what because you can't control everything. You can't control every aspect of it. And if you try, you'll kill it.
Yeah. I love that. I love that. I'm having big discussions with some amazing nonprofit volunteer networks, and their number one question is, what are people going to be saying? You can't control what anybody says. Like, that's a crazy thing to even try to do. I also think that there's just something really beautiful about trusting that your members are going to be great. And like you can't plan for the outside 0.5% that are a problem.
Yeah.
You need to build for the others.
Well, I mean, come on. We have people that are politically all over the map in their beliefs
Yeah.
and their understanding, and they're able to sit down and have conversations like adults.
Yeah.
And it's like people can do that, and you should be able to mix it up.
I love that. I love that. That's fantastic. Hey, thank you so much for coming on. And how can people follow up and get in touch with you?
Really easy. Just go to buildersclub.ca
Love it.
and follow the links.
Oh, and there's a great Ryan just jumped in here. Jesse once told me good coffee, good Wi-Fi, simple but highly effective for community.
Yeah, hey, we got pumpkin spice over at the thing right now. So
Well, I have
uh,
to get into the office. It's been a
yeah.
few days since I've been in. So thank you so much for doing this and, jumping in. I had no huge concrete plan around this other than I was like, people are building cool stuff and it's clearly working. How can we start bringing that to, general audience? I love it.
It's awesome. Well, thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely.
Bye.